There's a shark in my soup. That is so close to Woody's iconic line, "There's a snake in my boot." I don't even know what to say. And I gotta admit, I died laughing. Like, I legitimately cracked up and just started laughing because of just how that line was done. The translators that was translating that, you have to imagine when they put that line in for this episode, you gotta imagine that they were probably giggling. They were like, oh my god, this is just straight up from Toy Story. Like, this is legitimately very similar to Toy Story. There's gonna be memes created of this. And yes, that's definitely gonna happen. Let's be honest with each other. That line is gonna be memed to hell and back. Because JoJo, it creates memes. It's a meme king. It's something that everybody is very aware of in the anime community. JoJo always spawns so many countless memes. Like, for instance, this is the taste of a liar. And you just see how Bruno's licking Giorno's cheek or whatever. So, I mean, when you see stuff like that in this episode where there's a snake in my soup, we have a birth of a new meme in anime form. But okay, so let's get right into it. This episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure has a new opening and ending song, which that kind of shocked me. I expected the new opening, but I did not expect to see a new ending song added on, especially with how iconic that ending song was for, you know, the first major half of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 5. So, kind of shocked it was changed, honestly. But it is still a good ending song. I haven't really listened to the lyrics, like to see the translation version of it, to see what it actually means, but it is a good ending song. I actually kind of prefer the ending song over the opening song when it comes to the lyrics, but let me get into the overall footage that was in the new opening song. So the opening song, right off the bat, beautiful. It's a beautiful, high-quality opening song that stands out, and I gotta say, it is up there in terms of animation quality with the previous opening. Now, in terms of lyrics, I'm not the biggest fan of the lyrics, I'm going to be honest, but most likely the more I listen to it, the more I watch this opening song week after week, I'll probably grow attached to the opening, and it'll probably just be on constant loop, and I'll listen to it all the time. But for now, though, I do personally like the original opening of Part 5. However, getting into the actual content within the opening, there is quite a bit of foreshadowing / spoilers within the opening, which any JoJo opening is pretty much exactly like this, and normally David Productions, they know how to hide the foreshadowing / spoilers within their opening pretty freaking well. I mean, let's look back at the opening song of Part 3. You remember at the end of Part 3 of JoJo, there was so many spoilers in that. I mean, even if you're anime only and now you go back and look at that opening song, you're like, holy crap, there is a lot of spoilers. And most of the people that were watching it as anime only, such as myself, you know, we didn't really notice stuff like that. And when the whole Dio reveal happened with the world, and you just see how he starts walking slowly and all that, you're like, holy crap, the opening makes so much sense. And that's kind of what you get here, is that JoJo has always kind of had spoilery openings, but they knew how to hide them. They know how to hide them. And once again, we have another example of that within this new opening song. So I am looking forward to seeing some things added, maybe edited a little bit, especially when the sound effects version eventually does come out. But okay, getting right into it though, let's talk about the art quality. And it's something that many are talking about. I mean, I saw it mentioned constantly today through Twitter. Many are saying, like, Chibi, this is a really horrible episode of JoJo. And they're not saying in terms of content, they're saying basically that the episode is horrible for the art quality. And after watching it myself and looking throughout the episode, the art really isn't up to par with the previous episodes of JoJo. And I'm not just talking about the previous 2 episodes and stuff, like the whole King Crimson stuff. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about the entirety of JoJo. I do have to admit, I do agree with what people are saying about the art quality of this episode, that it isn't up to par what David Productions normally does. Now, what does this mean? Does this mean that we should worry? Personally, no. However, I have heard through many different ways throughout reviewing anime over the years that usually when there's like an episode that comes out that's kind of like a break episode, recap episode, usually that means that the animators, the people working on the series, is running into deadlines, or they're kind of running out of time and they need to put in a recap episode to be able to finish up certain, things next week or the week after that. And I feel like that recap episode that happened last week most likely was to be able to get this episode out, which could explain why the quality of it was kind of like meh throughout the majority of it. Now, Personally, I think the reason why they were able to get away with that meh quality for this episode was thanks to the fact that this wasn't really an action-orientated episode. It was mainly just dialogue and our characters just sitting around eating food and Narancia just acting like an imbecile. You know, it's overall what the entire episode was about. So, yeah, that's a big thing I want to get into. So the art quality, it's meh, but it didn't bug me to the extent where I hated the episode. I think one of the biggest things that were hit was definitely the facial designs. Like, when you look at the face of Giorno and stuff in certain scenes, it looks really off. But let's get into the actual plot. So the plot of this episode, there is some funny moments and some serious moments, and I want to get the funny moments out of the way before I get into the actual story. So one of the key iconic moments besides the snake or the shark in my suit, not snake, was the scene to where Narancia's just sitting there and they're talking about vegans and stuff, and you see this dude bump into Narancia. He gets a little bit of wine on his outfit or his suit, and Narancia's like, "We're getting attacked by an enemy," and he starts pummeling this dude, beating him on the ground, and then you see Mista go in, he starts beating the man too, and then you see the next one, he's like just drinking wine and all that, and you're like, oh my god, this man's just drinking wine, and then he goes over and just starts beating the man too, joining in. I'm like, really? It's a really funny moment. It's stuff like this that really just makes me appreciate JoJo and the character interactions of Part 5, because seeing how you have little scenes like this that's just so funny, and even though it doesn't hold a lot of weight in the grand scheme of things, it adds a lot more to these characters and showing that how they are in everyday life when they're not, doing a job, trying to risk their lives or something else, and just chilling and having some food or something. It's a great little scene. It takes us back to the beginning of Part 5, when Giorno is first introduced to this new cast of characters. So, the plot of this episode, we are introduced to two new antagonists that have stand abilities, remote stands. One is called Clash, and one is called Talking Head. Now, these two stand abilities, when you first look at them throughout this episode, they're really not that OP. They're really not as overwhelming as what we've seen already from Part 5 JoJo, Part 4 JoJo, or Part 3. It's really not that overwhelming, and even after knowing certain ways of how they function, they really aren't that overwhelming. It's just how they use them and how they exercise these, stand abilities is why they're able to be so efficient. However, there is a couple of things about, how they use their stands or what happened to Narancia that really just makes people probably like, really? How can you not see something's going on? And that's the fact that Talking Head controlling Narancia's tongue like it was and making him lie and say the exact opposite of what he wants, you would think that people would be able to instantly recognize that something's off with Narancia. And it was bugging me. I gotta admit, when I first read this, it bugged the hell out of me. I was like, what the hell? It's so obvious something's wrong. I mean, you all know that there can be different stands that can mess with people's body and stuff, so it's obvious that something happened to Narancia. I mean, he was attacked, his tongue came off, so I would look and realize that something's off about him, constantly, second-guessing himself or, contradicting himself. You would think something like that or someone would notice, especially Giorno, of all people. Now, he did notice, yes, but even then, it took him a little bit just to be able to catch on, and it's just so unlike Giorno when it comes to what we've already seen from JoJo Part 5, and all the other characters like Bruno and all that, or Leon not being able to notice something's off in Narancia just is shocking. It's incredibly shocking seeing that they weren't able to realize the man was acting very, very odd. So, I mean, I guess in some parts of this little segment of the arc, I wasn't the biggest fan of, because it just kind of, lowers our IQ level of all of our characters just for this conflict could happen, and that's kind of the main point here. I mean, it is a bizarre adventure, and we do have to have moments like these that usually in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, an arc where characters are just straight up dumb. I mean, let's think about Death 13. So, I mean, when you really think about it, I guess it fits in with the mold of what JoJo has crafted since the very beginning, but even then, though, it can kind of be a little bit annoying since the very beginning that Giorno's been shown to be highly intelligent, someone that's able to pick up real quickly, but then it took him pretty much till the end of the episode to finally catch on something was going on, and that could probably irk a few people, and it could be, in many people's eyes, that this might not be one of their favorite arcs, or it could be one of their least favorite arcs of Part 5 to date. But that doesn't mean that, I hate this episode, okay? I just want to clarify that. I don't hate JoJo, I don't hate this episode. I'm just saying that in terms of what this arc is about, the core content, it's not on the same level as the previous episodes or little mini arcs we've gotten so far from Part 5. So one last thing before I wrap this video up. How do you all feel about the new opening ending song? I know I talked about it, but I mean, how do you guys feel? Do you think this is one of the best opening songs for JoJo? one of the worst opening songs for JoJo? Do you think that this has potential to be even better as time progresses? Maybe they animate and change a few scenes, or they eventually add sound effects and do what they did for part 3. Let me know your honest thoughts in the comments below about the opening song and even the ending song. Which is your favorite, and do you think this stands out compared to the original opening of part 5? But I think I want to end it there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below, because for some reason, even if you click the subscribe button, you don't always get notified. So if you do want to get notified, hit that bell icon. And with that, Chibi out.